Captain Zorplax inhaled slowly, his nostrils flaring as he gazed upon the puny human who had somehow stepped onto the challenge platform. This was no place for such an inferior creature. The Galactic Fighting Championship arena pulsed with deafening cheers from over 100,000 spectators gathered to witness the greatest warriors in the galaxy compete in tests of strength, agility, and combat. Yet here stood this pale, hairless biped with its spindly limbs and minuscule stature, looking about with an expression of naive awe and optimism. Zorplax snorted, releasing a gust of sulfurous breath that made the human wrinkle its absurdly flat nose. "You are either incredibly brave or incredibly stupid to enter this arena, little one," Zorplax rumbled, his voice like boulders grinding. He towered over the human, his ox-like head nearly scraping the arena ceiling. Muscles rippled beneath his scaly green hide with each movement. The human craned its neck to gaze up at the 15-foot behemoth. "A little of both, perhaps," it replied in a curious chirping dialect. Its pink lips split into a grin that exposed its blunt little teeth. Zorplax narrowed all three of his orbital sockets. He had never seen a human this close before. Their world was so remote it had only recently been discovered when they managed to send out primitive radio signals into space. Now here was one of their kind, on the galactic stage for the first time in their species' history. "Allow me to educate you, friend," Zorplax grumbled. "I am Zorplax, warlord of Grendel Prime. I have cleaved steel with my bare claws and survived the gaseous seas of Xantos. My people are undefeated in over 1,000 cycles of combat." He leaned down, bringing his craggy face eye level with the human. "You have no chance here, little one. It would be wise to quit now before you get hurt." But the absurd creature simply smiled wider. "I don't quit so easily," it said. "My name's Dan. Nice to meet you. I may seem small, but I've got a few surprises in me." Zorplax reared back, a guttural laugh escaping his throat. Perhaps it possessed more bravery than sense after all. No matter. It would learn its place soon enough. Just then, the announcer's amplified voice boomed through the arena as the crowd roared, "First challenge commencing! Warriors to your platforms!" Massive stone platforms rose from the arena floor in a circle, each equipped with towering stacks of enormous metal weights. This first test would push the competitors' strength to their limits. Zorplax stomped onto his platform, the stone cracking beneath his 7-ton bulk. On either side of him, fellow alien warriors mounted their own platforms, reptilian Tolturians with sinewy 8-foot tails, 4-armed mantids covered in chitinous armor, and hairy gorloks with jagged teeth jutting from their lower jaws. All formidable champions. And then there was the human called Dan, clambering onto its platform to Zorplax's left. Dan stared up at the impossibly high column of weights before him and swallowed. For a moment, doubt crept into his mind. What was he thinking coming here to face these monsters? But he pushed the uncertainty aside. He had something to prove, not just to them, but to all humanity. It was too late to turn back now. The announcer shouted the start of the event. Cheers shook the arena walls. One by one, the alien warriors began hoisting their enormous weights into the air, muscles straining and sweat flying. Each successfully lifted stack brought more triumphant roars from the crowd. Then it was Dan's turn. Zorplax grinned, folding his arms expectantly across his broad chest. "Let's see what you've got, little one," he yelled over at Dan. The human bent down and rubbed his hands together, staring up at the gigantic weights. He took a deep breath, steeled himself, then lifted. Dan dug his feet into the stone platform, his legs quivering as he took hold of the enormous weights before him. The cold metal stung his palms and fingertips. Slowly, agonizingly, he began to lift the towering stack. His teeth gritted, muscles screaming in protest, But he did not stop. Higher, higher. The weights rose, wobbling precariously. A few alien spectators laughed and jeered from the crowd. They did not expect this scrawny creature to accomplish anything. Next to Dan, Zorplax watched in curiosity and surprise as the human made progress. How was this feeble thing even budging those gigantic weights, let alone lifting them? His 3 eyes blinked in unison. Impossible, he rumbled under his breath. Dan's veins bulged visibly along his neck and temples. His face turned beet red. He was giving this everything he had. For a moment it seemed the strain would break him. But then, with a ragged roar of effort, Dan raised the weights fully over his head. The arena fell silent. All laughter ceased. 100,000 mouths hung open in shock as Dan held the towering stack aloft, knees buckling. With a thunderous crash, he brought the weights back down. For a few seconds, the only sound was Dan's heavy breathing. Then the crowd erupted into astonished cheers and chants of, "Dan! Dan! Dan!" Zorplax stared, slack-jawed. This was the last thing he expected. Nearby, the other champions exchanged baffled looks. What manner of creature was this human? Dan raised his arms in weary triumph and smiled at the thundering applause. Maybe, just maybe, coming here wasn't such a mistake after all. As the other warriors took their turns, Dan sat recovering on his platform. So far so good, but he knew greater challenges lay ahead. He had to conserve his strength. The reptilian Tolturian warrior was up next. With a fearsome hiss, it lifted its enormous weights. But its slender tail couldn't provide enough balance, and the tower of metal came crashing down, eliciting groans of disappointment from the crowd. The 4-armed mantid succeeded in lifting its weights, but then the shaggy Gorlock warrior shocked everyone by lifting its stack with only 2 hands. A new record. Now only the mighty Zorplax remained. Dan watched nervously as the green behemoth approached his platform. Zorplax's stack of weights was larger than all the rest, befitting the arena's reigning champion. With a bellow that rattled Dan's bones, Zorplax seized his gigantic weights. Muscles swelled and strained as he slowly lifted them skyward. Higher and higher they went, wobbling and teetering. Zorplax seemed to reach his limit at around 40 feet, but the warrior was not done. Howling with fury, he gave one final epic hoist and raised the enormous weights a full 50 feet into the air. The arena practically exploded with excitement. Zorplax had exceeded the record. Any doubts about Dan's earlier feat vanished in the wake of Zorplax's astonishing display. Once again, the reigning champion had proven he was the mightiest. Dan sat there, mouth agape, as Zorplax let the weights crash back down with an earth-shaking thoom. The green behemoth beat his chest and roared triumphantly to the frenzied crowd. For the second time, Dan wondered what in the world he was doing here. Zorplax was in a whole other class compared to him and the other warriors. Could Dan really hope to keep up as the contest progressed? Anxiety stirred in his gut. No, he told himself. You didn't come all this way just to give up at the first sign of trouble. Keep believing. With determination like his, there was always a chance. Dan took a deep breath and steeled himself for the next round. This was far from over. The next challenge was an obstacle course, and a diabolical one at that. Competitors had to race through a ghastly gauntlet of hazards and traps designed to test their agility. Razor pendulums swung over muddy pits, bubbling with stinking ooze. Frigid water gushed down slippery chutes. Spinning blades and flame jets erupted without warning. And those were just the parts Dan could see from the starting line. No telling what other nightmares awaited along the winding track ahead. But he had come too far to back down now. As the announcer gave the signal to start, Dan took off, his heart hammering. The other warriors bounded ahead of him, their long strides covering more distance. But Dan kept pace as best he could. When he came to the first mud pit, he leaped and narrowly grabbed hold of a net on the other side before hauling himself over. The four-armed mantid warrior wasn't so lucky. It lost its grip and plunged into the sticky brown muck. Dan's lungs burned as he sprinted and hurtled through the course. He could hear the audience cheering and gasping with each new obstacle. Blinding pain lanced through his side, but he pushed it down. No giving up. Up ahead, Zorplax plowed through without slowing, smashing obstacles aside like twigs. Dan glimpsed spinning blades emerge from the walls ahead. He skidded and ducked just in time, feeling the breeze as the razors whizzed past, slicing a few hairs. Too close. He scrambled under swinging guillotine blades and then slid through a shower of frigid water that numbed his skin. Just when he thought the end was near, flames burst out right in his path. He careened sideways, feeling the heat scorch his shoulder before making it through unscathed. Finally, the finish line appeared ahead. With the last of his energy, Dan sprinted forward, hurtling across to the deafening roar of the crowd. He made it. Gasping and dripping wet, he glanced back to see much of the course now reduced to a muddy, flaming ruin. Only a few other competitors had made it through the mayhem. Last to finish was Zorplax, covered in muck and sporting a few scorch marks. But he seemed more irritated than exhausted. Dan gulped. His brief moment of celebration faded. He had survived the course, but the worst was yet to come. The final challenge loomed ahead. One-on-one combat atop raised platforms. Dan felt the many bruises and cuts burning across his battered body. He was already running on fumes and willpower. Could he really last even seconds against these ruthless alien-killing machines? But Dan knew the stakes were bigger than just him now. All of humanity was watching. If he failed here, humans might never get invited back to these championships again. They would become a joke among the stars, as Zorplax and the others clearly expected. No. Win or lose, Dan had to leave it all on the battlefield. He had to fight with everything he had left, prove that his people had heart. If he went down, it would be giving his alien rivals the fight of their lives. As Dan sat there steeling himself, he felt a massive hand clap down on his shoulder. It was Zorplax, grinning fiercely. "You've got spirit for one so small and weak," the behemoth chuckled. "I look forward to crushing you in the next round." Zorplax laughed and lumbered off, but his backhanded compliment filled Dan with pride. Outlasting the champion this long was already an accomplishment, no matter what happened next. The final challenge platform rose before him. Dan stepped on and got into a fighting stance. He may fail here today, but win or lose, humanity would not be forgotten anytime soon. Dan stepped onto the combat platform, his heart pounding. This was it, the final challenge. All around him, hulking alien warriors strode onto identical platforms, each raised 20 feet above churning waters. Only one fighter would walk away from this battle. To Dan's left stood Zorplax, clenching and unclenching his massive clawed hands. The behemoth had defeated countless champions across the galaxy. Dan's only hope was to somehow outmaneuver the larger opponent, use speed and agility to his advantage. If Zorplax got hold of him, it would be over in seconds. An energy barrier shimmered into place around each platform, confining the combatants. As the announcer signaled the start of the melee, Dan bounced lightly on the balls of his feet. He had to be smart and careful here. Let the aliens wear each other down first before engaging. With bellowing roars, the warriors charged at each other. Zorplax immediately grasped a nearby Gorlock in a crushing headlock. Muscles bulging, the green giant hurled his opponent screeching over the edge into the churning waters below. First casualty. The four-armed mantid dueled fiercely with the leathery-skinned Tolturian, all four blades flashing, but the Tolturian's long tail whipped around, sending the mantid plunging into the froth. 2 down. Dan kept moving, weaving between battles. He ducked as the Tolturian's tail lashed past his head. Time to act. As the Tolturian lunged at him, Dan spun and delivered a lightning heel kick to its midsection. The wind knocked out of it. The wheezing Tolturian stumbled and toppled from the platform. Only Zorplax remained now. The hulking behemoth turned to face Dan, murder in his 3 glowing eyes. "Not bad for a weak little human, but your luck ends here." He charged like an avalanche. Dan barely dove aside in time as Zorplax's fist shattered the spot where he'd stood. The platform shook from the thunderous impact. Dan rolled back to his feet, assuming a fighting stance. "Stay still, you coward," Zorplax roared. He threw a massive haymaker. Dan ducked and tackled the behemoth's leg, trying to throw him off balance. It was like slamming into an oak tree. Zorplax scoffed and kicked, sending Dan skidding across the platform. Dan gasped for breath, bruised ribs aching. He couldn't take many more hits like that. He had to bring Zorplax down fast. As the frothing behemoth rushed him, Dan leaped upward, planting both feet into Zorplax's chest. The giant grunted as Dan pushed off, flipping backward and landing nimbly. Before Zorplax could recover, Dan swept his legs out from under him. The crowd cheered as the mighty behemoth crashed hard onto his back. The platform cracked beneath his colossal weight. Seeing his chance, Dan scrambled onto Zorplax's broad chest. He raised a shaking fist, ready to deliver the decisive blow. But the green giant still had fight left. He seized Dan's arm and hurled him across the arena. The barrier crackled violently as Dan collided with it, barely staying inside the ring. Head spinning, he rose unsteadily. No bones seemed broken, but blood trickled from his nose and mouth now. The taste of iron filled his mouth. Still, Dan forced a defiant grin. "That the best you got?" he spat. With an outraged bellow, Zorplax seized an entire section of their cracked platform, muscles bulging. He ripped it free and held the massive chunk of stone over his head. "I will squash you like the insect you are," he thundered. Zorplax hurled the huge projectile at Dan. With no room left to dodge, Dan stood his ground. Time seemed to slow. As the stone descended upon him, Dan summoned every ounce of strength left in his battered body. He cocked back his fist and struck with all his might. A thunderous crack resounded across the arena. The stone shattered into pebbles and dust, raining down harmlessly around Dan. Above the deafening cheers, he heard Zorplax utter one word: "Impossible!" Zorplax stared in disbelief as the last fragments of stone tumbled down around Dan. Moments ago, he was ready to claim the puny human's demise. Yet somehow, against all odds, Dan had survived. Bloodied knuckles throbbing, Dan stood tall. The crowd was in an utter frenzy now, chanting the human's name. For the first time in cycles, Zorplax felt uncertainty stirring within him. How could this weak little creature possess such astonishing power and resilience? Perhaps there was more to humans than he realized. With a grunt, Zorplax rose to his feet. The final energy barrier dropped, leaving the platform open. There was nowhere left to run now. One of them would soon taste victory, the other defeat. Zorplax clenched his fists, green scales bristling along his muscular frame. He had never backed down from any foe. No matter how tough they appeared, all eventually fell before his might. This human would be no different. Dan sank into a weary fighting stance. His legs wobbled, threatening to give out. Every inch of his body screamed in pain. He had already exceeded his limits many times over just to make it this far. Not much left to give now, but he had to try. With bellowing roars, they charged at each other. Zorplax lashed out with a massive fist. Dan evaded the crushing blow, landing a rapid strike to the behemoth's jaw before dancing back. Zorplax reeled briefly, then came on faster, unleashing more punches that could shatter boulders. Dan ducked and weaved, landing quick hits where he could, ribs, knees, throat. But it wasn't enough. Eventually, one of Zorplax's devastating attacks would connect. As they exchanged blows, understanding dawned in Zorplax's eyes. Though half his size, the human was matching him for spirit and tenacity. Such courage demanded his respect. But that didn't mean he would hold back. With a bellow, Zorplax seized Dan's arm and flung him hard against the arena barrier. The crowd gasped as Dan crashed down, unmoving. Slowly, Zorplax approached, ready to finish this. But to his astonishment, Dan stirred, then started pushing himself up, limbs quaking violently. He rose to one knee, peering up through swollen eyes. "Had enough, little guy?" Zorplax rumbled, realization striking him. This human would never yield. If Zorplax kept battering him, it would mean Dan's death. Sudden remorse gripped Zorplax's heart. He no longer desired that victory. "I yield," Dan wheezed, slumping forward. A shocked murmur rippled through the crowd. But Zorplax knelt and grasped Dan's shoulder, keeping him upright. "No," Zorplax said solemnly. "This battle is yours." Around them, the arena erupted with thunderous cheers and applause. Alien races who moments ago were calling for Dan's head now chanted his name with awe and adoration. News of his improbable victory against the galaxy's mightiest champion would soon spread across all worlds. Zorplax helped Dan stand. "You have shown courage and heart beyond measure this day," he declared, loud enough for all to hear. "I have never faced a mightier foe, though you be small in stature." Raising their clenched fists together, Zorplax acclaimed Dan as champion before the roaring crowd. At long last, humanity had earned its place among the stars. This was a victory not just for Dan, but for the indomitable human spirit. And as the applause rained down, Dan knew, no matter the challenges ahead, his people would face them with heads held high.